Hi, Mark. Um,
Hey, how are
nice
you?
seeing your face.
Nice seeing you.
I was streaming the album, to be honest,
Okay. Oh, that's fine.
and I'm super excited, to be honest, because you guys have managed to recreate that old school sound. Uh, of course, we have the Swedish death metal scene, but you have a lot of death, the original death, in there. So, first of all, is it pronounced as in hell or as in hell?
No, it's not the ass in hell, it's S in hell. I don't know if you heard about the story, about Michael's story, how he came up with the name.
Oh, go on, please.
Yeah, the story is like Michael is very or was very good friends with LG from Entombed,
Mhm.
and shortly before he died, he had a couple of phone calls which he couldn't pick up because he was at the register in the supermarket, and one time he called him in the middle of the night and didn't hear the phone. And a couple of days later, he passed away. So Michael was sure that he wanted to call him to say goodbye or something.
Mm.
And he was really upset about that he couldn't talk to him on the phone or didn't pick up the phone. And yeah, he had really bad feelings about that. And after a couple of days or something, he went on a morning walk, and all of a sudden his iPod uh, played the song, or LG was yelling all of a sudden, I'm full of hell, So and he said, this is a call from LG that I couldn't pick up, so he wanted actually to call the band Full of Hell.
Okay.
But there was already a band called like that, so he decided to name it Asinhell. But yeah, that's the story behind the name. Basically, it's actually a little bit sad story, but
It's
yeah,
sad. It's sad.
yeah.
And I don't want to start this by in this mood, but as we get older, and for the fans too, right? We see our the musicians that we have been following for, I don't know, for maybe 20 years, and they have all these issues, and then some of them, it makes your mind think about that. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I have nothing to add on that.
Yeah, it's tragic actually, I mean, we're all, or actually not you, but I am in an age where I have like a lot of old comrades and band people passing away. Also with my old Morgoth
Mhm.
guitar player Carsten, who died like 5 years ago. So yeah, the age of I mean, I'm in the early 50s, but all of a sudden some people are, yeah, like passing away, and that's kind of, yeah, well, you realize that you're not 20 anymore, even if you think sometimes you are like 20 or act like a 20-year-old guy on stage or something, or also with a heart, with creating music and stuff.
Right.
But on the other hand, yeah, especially in an age like that, you have to take care of yourself a little bit more, I guess. So
Right,
yeah.
right. I mean, we are kind of the fans. Maybe we are kind of selfish on that, because when we see you guys on the scene performing live, we think, oh, nothing will happen to that. These guys are indestructible. They will remain as they are
Mm.
from that day I bought the album. So we need to reset our minds on that.
Yeah, it's not like that, yeah, and I think it's a matter of age too. When you were 20 or 30, you never thought about that too much.
Oh no.
You were just like party on and doing all the crazy stuff. But nowadays, I mean, I also reflect on that as well. Like a lot of people I know passing away lately in an early kind of age. Like 50 isn't an age where you should die. But of course, it's also because of the lifestyle some people had and lived. And I'm not a saint too. I know that when I was 20, I did the same stuff. But nowadays, having a family, having a regular day job, and having responsibilities for kids and stuff, it's a different thing, and It's you don't have to take care of yourself only, but also for the family and also for
Yes.
the that's and that's, I think that changed a lot in my mind too, when I mean, I'm a late father kind of, I'm 53 now, but my oldest daughter is 4 and my youngest kid is 4. My oldest daughter is 6 and my youngest son is 4. So I'm having young kids, that keeps me young too. But on the other hand, I feel more responsibility now for myself as well, because I don't want to have them losing their father as the age in an early age, and I want to see them grow up too, So yeah, it changed a lot by becoming a father, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. However, with bands like Asinhell, you can get something from your school years, right? Because there is that, and this is why we keep returning to that sound. At least us guys, we are close to our 50s. We have connected specific styles, have specific metal genres, right? With our as we grew up. So listening to this, I mean, so how did you join Asinhell, and what stage was the music when you joined?
Well, I mean, me and Michael, we know each other for a very long time. Our relationship goes back into the, let's say, early 90s, when I played shows with Morgoth in Denmark, and his old death metal band, Dominus,
Yeah.
was supporting us. Ever once in a while, we were coming to Denmark to maybe play some weekend shows. Back then, it was like youth centers and stuff like that. And Dominus was always the band, or most of the time was either Invocator or Dominus supporting us in Esbjerg or in Copenhagen. So the relationship goes back to, I think, 93, 94 or something. But then we lost track of each other a bit. I didn't even know that he formed VOLBEAT in the early 2000s, and we reconnected when I released the first Insidious Disease album, a band I have with Silinos and with Shane. It's a death metal band with a first release 2010, I think. And then Michael sent me a mail and said, "Oh, I really like that album. Do you remember me back from the early 90s? We did some shows." And then I recall, "Oh, yeah, it's Michael from Dominus." And it said, "Yeah, I'm now having a different band. It's called VOLBEAT." And I wasn't too familiar with VOLBEAT, to be honest. And I
Okay.
said, "Oh, cool, that's cool to know, And then I looked VOLBEAT up and it was like, "Oh, wow, this is
This is
already,
different.
yeah, huge band, And he said, "Yeah, we play next month. We play Berlin, and do you want to come by?" And there was a tour actually where Entombed opened for them. The Entombed was opening for them, and said, "Oh, that's great. Entombed is playing too." And I was still thinking, "Oh, they're gonna open up for Entombed or something, And then we went. It was all right. This is a total different game, I think. I was totally wrong, of course, because Entombed was the opening band, and Volbeat were like playing in front of 10,000 people there already in Berlin. But I kind of was out of that scene, kind of, or I mean, I was in the death metal scene, but never was too familiar with the Volbeat stuff before. So I was kind of surprised. It was like, "Oh, holy shit, how did that happen? And how did I not even know about that, And they said, yeah, and then it was already like back in the day, which talked about good old times and death metal, and LG was hanging out there too, and then Tube guys, and that's how we reconnected, And he always said, Michael always said, "Oh, I really love your voice, and would be cool to play or to do a death metal project one day." And I said, "Okay, yeah, you play in this huge band now. When do you gonna have time to play death metal?" And I think I didn't take it too serious, actually, that he would still follow that path with a death metal band, But yeah, as I said before, this story with LG when he passed away, that was kind of the pinch he got, to start this project, because we had talked about that ever since, and I mean, we still went since 2010. We were still in contact all the time, like every once a week or something, sending us cool links to bands which we like, death metal underground bands and stuff. And he's a total nerd, he's really he knows more about death metal than I do. I have to admit, you know, like with finding all the bands on the internet and really small underground bands, but those bands who carry the old school flag, kind of, you know, he found out, you know. It's like, I said, oh great, and then I got into that as well and more, and so we exchange links from death metal bands all the time. And yeah, and of course, I didn't ever think about this death metal project that we should do or would do together. But after this experience with LG, he called me up and said, Mark, I got a call from LG, how he said, you know, like with his iPod starting with his song after he couldn't pick up the phone, and said, I think we have to start this death metal band now. So I said, all right, I'm up for it, you know, let's do it. And he had written some material for VOLBEAT that he couldn't use on the last record, Servant of the Mind, which he thought it was too heavy for VOLBEAT, but could fit for this death metal project. So the songs came together very quick, as he had a lot of like riffs written already in the during the, let's say, pandemic times. And when he called me up, that was I think March 2022.
Okay.
And yeah, I got the first rehearsal songs from the rehearsal place in summer 2022. 2022, not 2002, 22. And then I sang a couple of like vocals on it, like trying out a little bit, and we forward the files back and forth, and yeah, it came up like really quick, actually. Like I would say the album was written in like half a year, let's say. So that was really quick and very spontaneous, and I think that's what we also said. It has to be really catchy, old school death metal, but it should be spontaneous, not too much thinking about which part could be follow this part, and it has to come from the heart, kind of, you know, heart and stomach, kind of, you know. So just
and vocal cords, right? Vocal
yeah,
cords.
yeah, punch it out, and then that's it, you know, not too much thinking about it. Just a good old school death metal album, I would say. Yeah, and so it's very, very quick. We got these like songs together, and yeah, then we said, okay, yeah, we have almost a whole album, so what shall we do? You know, it's like, and Michael asked his old friend and also my old colleague, Jacob Hansen, who played in Invocator, and Invocator is a band I played a lot of shows with also when we played Denmark with Morgoth in the early 90s. So that's how the whole circle comes together.
Yeah, right,
you know,
right.
Went to that studio, and even ending Jacob playing bass on that record as well.
Correct.
So
and you had Fleming Land do the leads, right? Okay. Yeah. But you said everything came out quickly. However, you did some work, quote unquote, on the lyrics. I mean, the press release mentions your friend, Dr. Frank Albert, right?
Yes.
So I need to learn, what did you do with a certified psychologist for the lyrics?
Well, as I said, I'm having a family life. I'm a father of 2 small kids, and I'm having a regular day job. I'm working as a social worker, kind of, in an orphanage.
Oh.
So my day is pretty much filled with work and family, kind of, you know. And I knew when we came up with this project, I knew that, and we were thinking about going to the studio quickly to record and stuff, because Jacob Hansen had this slot where we could record. I was like, oh shit, I have to write lyrics. And I know that when I write lyrics, I have to be in a quiet place for like a week where I can shut the door and think about weird stuff, you know. And that's not possible if you have kids and a family life and a regular job. So I was like, shit, how shall I do this, you know? And I could have written lyrics, but that would be probably lyrics that would be not really good, probably, or not satisfying.
Okay.
So I was thinking, and I'm having a good friend in another death metal band called Temple of Dread. That's a German death metal band, and the main songwriter is a good friend of mine, and I knew that he had a good friend that wrote the lyrics for them as well, and he's a psychologist. So I said,
Wow.
maybe you can introduce me to him, you know. It's like, and then he said, yeah, let's call him up, and we called him up, and he was totally into it. He was like, wow, you sure? I mean, and he's a huge fan, huge death metal fan, this Frank, but also like a doctor of psychology, you know, and having, and I mean, he's experienced a lot of like really weird people and knows the real weird stories too, you know. And we were talking back and forth, and I said, yeah, I really like this psychological background in death metal vocal lyrics, you know, like not only the gory stuff like face to face, but a little bit more thinking, why is it happening, and the story behind, you know. And he was totally up for that, and he said, yeah, that's great. And I was also like, let's put a little bit humor, black humor or sarcasm into it too, you know. And I mean, we got along really, really good, and that's how it came together. We sent him the files with my vocals, or even Michael's vocals. Michael put some, like, I call it pilot vocals, like just like singing some stuff which doesn't make sense sometimes, but good hook lines and stuff. So we send it Frank those lyrics or that studio recordings, and he was like, yeah, that's great. And he found the words exactly on our vocal melodies and
Wow.
came up with great lyrics too. So that was a very lucky turn that we got to meet Frank, and that he was so into the project too. And we are already talking about new stuff, and he said, I'm totally up for that now. And he also writes the lyrics for this other band called Temple of Dread, and they have a couple of albums out, and he wrote all the lyrics for them too. And he's actually putting a lot of Greek mythology in the last record. It's called Beyond Acheron, the last record of Temple of Dread.
Okay, interesting.
Really great album, I think, and a great. I mean, they got a great couple of albums in the last 4 years. They put out an album every year. So, and he wrote all the lyrics, and it's a story about the Greek mythology kind of thing too.
Right.
So,
I'm sure being a psychologist and maybe being exposed to the dark side of humans' mind, I'm sure writing lyrics may be some sort of a therapy for him. I'm sure. And
yeah. I mean, he met a lot of like weird people too. You know, I mean, he's like the real, like, mentally disturbed people.
yeah,
You know, he
yeah,
knows the real stories behind why people act, and what is a story behind becoming a psychopath or becoming a schizophrenic maniac and stuff, you know.
yeah.
So that is a great thing that comes with it, you know, that we have a professional on that side as well.
Yeah, and for the black
That
humor,
written stuff like this.
Island of the Dead Men, two lines, man, made me laugh. You say it makes you eat your final friend,
Yes,
and then
It,
nourishment by death.
yeah, yeah. It's a little bit, you know, it's about two men stranding on an island, you know, and also the story behind it is a little bit this story. This movie Alive, which is like about a football team that is
Right.
crashing with a plane in the ants, and to survive, they have to eat themselves or the people who died on the crane crash. So it's a little bit a story about that, but only with two men, you know, two men stranding on that island, and after, you know, not having any food supply, you know, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing that happens then.
And I have to ask the last song. It's 9 seconds. For Helvete.
But yeah, that's
I
just
butchered
a
that.
joke. That's just a joke. It's just a joke, because I mean, I don't speak Danish perfectly, but this Fall for Helvete is like the worst. This was the worst, smelly, shitty thing I've heard. At, at the end of the record, kind of a joke about ourselves as well. But the kid that is saying this is Michael Poulsen's daughter.
I knew it had to be someone's kid.
Yeah. And she said, this was his worst and shittiest thing I've heard, kind of.
Oh, so it's officially the first critic, the first review.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit, don't take it too we don't take it too serious ourselves, I would say.
Of course. Yeah, people, some bands need to remember that we shouldn't take ourselves too serious. So, have you discussed even the possibility of playing live?
Yeah, I mean, when we started the project, we knew that it would be not possible to do like 6-week tours and stuff, because VOLBEAT is Michael's full-time project. I'm a full-time, I have a full-time job, and Morten, the drummer, is also having a full-time job and a kid and 2 kids. So we said, yeah, we're not going to play live with this. But when we recorded the album and when we heard the album, we said, oh shit, this is
It's too good.
it's too good, we need to play live, and now, yeah, we say, yes, we want to play live, we need to play live, and I can't wait to play the songs live too. And it's the same with the other guys, they say it's like not having, I mean, a 6-week tour, but festivals and whatever, weekend gigs or something. That's what we want to do, and also the other guys who played on the album, I mean, Jacob Hansen, he hasn't played on a stage for like 30 years.
Oof.
And he said, I'm in. I want to play this stuff live too. So he's our bass player now too for the live shows he just mentioned.
So
Yeah.
that will be tricky to get you guys in the States. It will be tricky.
Yeah. That would be great. It's like, I mean, they're like Maryland Death Fest would come to my mind if to play a good festival, or the Milwaukee Metal Fest is now
yes.
back again too, right? So yeah, that's that would be something, or playing some shows on the West Coast and a couple of weeks later on the other side, something like that.
That will
But
be awesome.
yeah, but we wouldn't be able to get in a van, like, I mean, we're not a big band, it's still a small band. So what can you do? You can only travel the States with an RV, for 6 weeks or something, and that's with like 50-year-old guys. You don't want to do that, you
Hey,
want to.
you can easily open for VOLBEAT, man. Come on.
Yeah, that would be a possibility too, but I mean, I don't know if Michael wants to do that, it's like playing
I
double
have the
duty.
idea. But you have Insidious Disease, you are involved Leper Colony, right? Discreation, Demon's Dawn. You have your own festival. You would start singing from the evening all the way to 12 o'clock, right? Easy.
Actually, it is like that, right? Yeah, the other stuff is, I mean, Demon's Dawn, that's a band from my neighborhood, kind of. We are friends meeting up in a in Berlin in a rehearsal room just to have fun and to play live in a rehearsal room situation. And yeah, we've done that for a couple of years. And once we had this record together, and we said, it's a little bit different, it's not death metal, it's more like thrashy stuff. I said, let's record it, and then of course, yeah, it got released too, now it's like, do you want to play live with this as well? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm still like that, it's like I love to play music, I love to create music, and it's a passion for me, I would say. And also like well, to get off my I mean, I'm not an angry or aggressive person, but I have to get it out once in a while, so this is a good therapy for me as well, to be on stage or be in a rehearsal room just shouting, and get my aggression verbally out, in a positive way. So yeah, that's why actually I'm having this band Demon's Dawn, which is more like a basement band, which is like all of a sudden recorded an album too. And it's fun with the guys, these guys are also they're not young anymore as well. So but we're gonna play Wacken next year with this band also. So
awesome.
it's a good thing, but we also said it's not possible to tour and blah blah blah. But yeah, festivals.
You never know. However, and since we talked about the lyrics, I want to comment on your style of growling, because you can, as a listener, I can understand what you are growling about. And that to me is very important, because I get more, not connected, but it's, I don't know, I will never try to sing along, but it's nice to to understand what you're talking about.
Yes, yeah, that's was always important to me. You know, it's like growing up in the 80s, you know, and listening to all those, I mean, upcoming thrash bands. You know, I always liked the part of thrash that you can understand the lyrics, also with the punk stuff. You know, I think death metal when I grew up was like, I mean, I was like 13, 14 when first Slayer album was released, or when the whole thrash wave started. But also the late punk stuff was still there, you know, like GBH, Exploited and stuff. And I had a lot of punk friends too, so we always exchanged records, you know. So I'm pretty much influenced by, I would say, punk stuff as well. And I always liked the aggression in punk music, you know, verbally also. And I think thrash, punk, and this upcoming death metal stuff, you know, was the combination that totally triggered me. You know, was like, wow, this is exactly what I wanted to do. You know, it's like the most aggressive stuff, but also with a message, and also with a little bit more deep than the punk stuff. But you should still understand what you are trying to say, you know.
Correct.
So, and I think the best example to me, or the biggest influence to me, always was Tom Araya of Slayer, who was like so pronounced everything, you know. It's like every word he said was or I mean, nowadays he's not doing it anymore, unfortunately, but to me Tom Araya was always like the role model for great pronunciation in extremely brutal way, or heavy way, you know. And then also, of course, with the upcoming death metal stuff like Mantas, we traded demo tapes with those guys. And as soon as we had a tape with Morgoth, it was always like tape trading with all the bands, you know. It's like, and those influences came in there too. You said like Kem Lee, of course, Chuck Schuldiner, all those guys came in there too. And first, when I heard death, it was like, yeah, you can understand Chuck as well, you know. And that was another influence, like the early Floridian death metal stuff, and also the Swedish stuff. But nowadays, of course, this with the slam death metal, I mean, everything is I mean, has its time and stuff. Maybe I'm too old for that, but it's, to me, sometimes I don't get it too much, you know. It's like, to me, it's more like you have to understand what you're saying, you know. And some people say, that's not that to our stuff, you know, that's not even death metal, you know.
Yeah,
That's
well,
more, I don't want to judge it or put it in a shelf or whatever. So to me, it's old school death metal, or death metal like I was grown into when I was like discovering the stuff in 86, 87, 88, and all the scene exploded kind of. Those were the bands who influenced each other, I would say, you know.
and set the foundations for everyone to follow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I can appreciate the new stuff musically, but sometimes, you know, with a vocalist, if it's too like only grunting, too deep, and you can write a lyric and whatever,
No one
and sing
cares.
thing. Yeah. So yeah, but it always has to me, it always was important that you could understand the lyrics, even if they were really heavy and brutal, you know.
Absolutely. Mark, thank you very much for your time. Is there anything that you would like to share, not for Asinhell only, anything from your other projects that you are involved? Anything I forgot to ask?
Well, I'm extremely happy to still be there and do this kind of stuff, and still interest some people for my music, you know. That's a privilege, you know. And I'm really thankful that, yeah, still people want to talk to me like you.
Come on.
Even if I'm an old fart, you know. But yeah, I really hope that we're gonna at least play some shows in the States with Asinhell. That would be perfect. And yeah, and if people want to check out my other bands like Demos Dawn, Discreation, that would be nice too. And Leprechaun too. That's old school death metal. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. And
Absolutely. And please remember, I'm in Chicago. Whenever it's time to know the days where you are coming, Chicago is your...
yeah, would be great. Yeah, I love Chicago. That's great.
Absolutely.
All
Say
right.
hi to the rest of the guys, and again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.